Let's do this. Kamala Harris, Brett Baier.
You know, voters tell pollsters all over the country and here in Pennsylvania that immigration is one of the key issues that they're looking at this election, and specifically the influx of illegal immigrants from more than 150 countries. How many illegal immigrants would you estimate your administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years?
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but
right
do you,
now,
just a number. Do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Brett, let's just get to the point. Okay, the point is.
You know, guys, this is disturbing right off the break. This is the first question. None of this has been edited by me. She said it already. You already know what I'm going to say, don't you? You know what I'm going to talk about, which is, you know, I'm not going to answer questions. Yeah, I came on your platform not to answer questions. I came here to do a bunch of talking points and not answer questions. Even the opening question that has no ambiguity. That's right there, the first question. You can't be like on another talking point. It just started. And she out the gate announces to the whole world she is not going to provide us with any information that's going to be useful. She's not going to speak directly, respond directly to any questions. And she said, you know I'm not. Brett, you know I'm not going to answer your questions, Brett. That would take a person who wants an open dialogue. That would take a person that respects all these independent viewers that I'm trying to reach, who might want an answer to the question. Now, I'm about to word salad the hell out of this and make up excuses and blame the previous administration. This is what we're dealing with.
That we have a broken immigration system that needs to be repaired.
So your Homeland Security Secretary said that 85% of apprehensions.
I'm not finished. We have an
it's a rough estimate of 6 million people have been released into the country. And let me just finish. I'll get to the question, I promise you.
I was beginning to answer.
And when you came into office, your administration immediately reversed a number of Trump border policies. Most significantly, the policy that required illegal immigrants to be detained through deportation, either in the U.S. or in Mexico. And you switched that policy. They were released from custody awaiting trial. So instead, included in those were a large number of single men, adult men, who went on to commit heinous crimes. So, looking back, do you regret the decision to terminate Remain in Mexico at the beginning of your administration?
At the beginning of our administration, within practically hours of taking the oath, the first bill that we offered Congress, since Science Act, before the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the first bill, practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the...
Yes, ma'am. May I finish responding, please? But you have to let me finish,
You
please.
had the White House and the House and the Senate,
and they didn't bring up that bill. I'm in the middle of responding to the point you're raising, and I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
We recognized from day one that, to the point of this being your first question, it is a priority for us as a nation and for the American people. And our focus has been on fixing...
Crash and burn! Thunder! Lightning! Things falling over! Cats and dogs running around, eating each other. Children screaming, women screaming, men screaming. Everything's going berserk. Everything's going crazy. That's what would happen if Kamala Harris ever answered a question directly. The world might end. God himself, or herself, God themselves, the being, supreme being, would be like, what just happened? He would turn to Jesus and say, There's always room for a miracle, son. There's always room for a miracle. That one down there just finally answered the question. It's not blasphemy because it'll never happen, Johnson. She will never answer a question. Folks, the fact that you have Democrats on various platforms saying she did a good job. Puh! Do they know what good job is? Do they have the definition of properly what a good job is? It's not a good job to run around the clock. Brett Baier, I'm so glad he's here. So many people never got to hear this, so she stepped on his rebuttal because his rebuttal was very important here. Not only did they reverse the clamps that Trump had put on the border, they tried to pass a humongous bill that had a lot of pathways to citizenship in it. It was basically an amnesty bill. That's why it didn't pass. Keep going, Mr. Brett. I like you.
A problem. And from day one, then, we have done a number of things, including to address our asylum system and put more resources, getting more judges, what we needed to do to tighten up penalties and increase penalties for illegal crossings, what we needed to do to deal with points of entry between border entry points. That's the work we did, and we worked on supporting what was a bipartisan effort, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, to actually strengthen the border. That border bill would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border, which is why I believe the Border Patrol agents supported the bill. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States, which is a scourge affecting people of every background, every geographic location in our country, killing people. It would have allowed us to put more resources into prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, which I have done as the Attorney General, former Attorney General.
How many people crossed the border under you? How many people crossed the border under your watch, border czar lady? How many people crossed the border under your boss's watch? Take it off you. You say you don't want to be responsible? Fine. I thought when you're black, you got to work twice as hard. So you weren't working twice as hard on the border. Okay, my fault. I assumed the saying was true. But let me get this right. You won't give us a number about people that cross the border under you guys, right? This is out.
Of a border state.
Madam Vice President, a couple of things.
Prosecuted trafficking of drugs, guns, and human beings. And Donald Trump, but let me just finish.
Six Democrats voted against that bill.
Learned about that bill and told them to kill it because he preferred to.
Yeah, I guess he told the Democrats to kill it too, because they helped kill it. Another thing that hasn't been addressed. I don't think she's doing too good with the independents right now, Johnson. I don't know. What do you guys think? You think she's winning over a lot of voters? Inquiring minds want to know if she's really killing it, because they've been saying how hard she's working and Trump's a lazy bastard because he isn't doing interviews right now. So, yeah. Was she killing it right now? This is going great. You think it's going great, Bakari Sellers? How'd she do, Charlemagne? How's this one? Just take it up the place, baby.
Run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And in this election, this is rightly a discussion that the American people want to have. And what they want are solutions, and they want a president of the United States.
Now we want to know what Brett asked you. We want to know how many millions of undocumented illegal people who were not documented crossed our border. That's what we want to know. We want to know the answer to the question that you're avoiding. They say hundreds of thousands of people. They're saying thousands of people cross, thousands of people, millions of people cross the border, thousands of which were criminals, some of which got right out of jail. for things like murder. In other words, I won't use because I want to keep the monetization on this content. And Miss Kamala won't even be bothered to answer how many people crossed.
Who's not playing political games with the issue,
I hear you,
but actually is focused on fixing it.
6 Democrats voted against that bill. It would have allowed 1.8 million illegal immigrants into the country a year. A lot of conservatives had a problem with it. These are the 6 Democrats. But more importantly, back to the original premise, Jocelyn Nungari, Rachel Morin, Laken Riley, they are young women who were brutally assaulted and killed by some of the men who were released at the beginning of the administration, well before a negotiated bipartisan bill. Former President Clinton actually referred to Laken Riley Sunday, campaigning for you in Georgia, saying if those men had been properly vetted, Laken Riley probably would not have been killed. So if it wouldn't have happened, this is well before any negotiation. This is well before Donald Trump got involved in the politics. This is a specific policy decision by your administration to release these men into the country. So what I'm saying to you, do you owe
Brett,
those families an apology?
Let me just say, first of all, those are tragic cases. There's no question about that. There is no question about that. And I can't imagine the pain that the families of those victims have experienced for a loss that should not have occurred. So that is true.
Answer!
It is also true that if a border security had actually been passed 9 months ago, it would be 9 months that we would have had more border agents at the border, more support for the folks who are working around the clock trying to hold it all together.
Madam Vice President.
To ensure that no future harm would occur. And this election in 20 days will determine whether we have a president of the United States who actually cares.
God, folks, this is going to be excruciating for us to get through. Let me state this for anybody watching so you understand. There was a secure border in place. Not perfect, but it had our immigration under control. The border was under control via executive order. The Biden and Harris administration came in and they removed those. They removed those mechanisms, those executive orders. They rolled them back. When you enter office, you have that ultimatum. You can decide that. They decided to do that. After their supposed legislation that got shot down immediately, that they tried to do initially because people didn't like it, they didn't put the safeguards back in place. See, people that want to come to, the reason why we had 10 million people, real quick, guys, real quick, there were people, because under Trump, he made people stay in Mexico to wait for their amnesty and then get their number called. Then they could come and apply for asylum, or then they could be ruled on. Not come in America, be released into America, and then hope they show up to court. So all those people that were waiting in Mexico. When they changed the executive order, they all crossed the damn border. That's what happened. It was an exact correlation to what Biden and Kamala Harris did. That's why all those people crossed the border. It wasn't people fudging the numbers. If you're a Democratic person, you may actually think that. Because you think Trump does all things that are evil. Anything bad that ever happens in America, you want to draw a line to Trump because you watch CNN and MSNBC. The fact of the matter is, there are those of us who lost family members due to that damn fentanyl to cross that border. And I'm one of those people. And I take this very seriously. Very seriously. And that this woman will not answer that question, that she has the audacity to sit there and not answer a question about a policy that was in place under Trump. You could have just left it alone. But you wanted to prove a point. And now people are not here because of you, Kamala Harris. You know how angering it is. You realize how frustrating it is to hear this all the time from her on the border? Well, you know it's a direct connection to all the deaths that have taken place around this country to those drugs coming into this country. And this woman is running for president and won't even be bothered. Won't even be bothered to give you an answer. So anybody watching, trolling me, you're a horrible individual. Let's keep going, Johnson. Get her, Brett. Get her, Brett.
More about fixing a problem, even if it is not to their political advantage in an election, because there was a solution, Brett.
Madam Vice President, it was a policy decision in the early part of your administration. I will let one of the mothers talk about it. Take a listen.
Because of the Biden-Harris administration open border policies catch and release, they were enrolled in the Alternatives to Detention program. This meant that they were released into the United States. It was not even a full 3 weeks later that they would take my daughter, Jocelyn Nungare's life. I believe the Biden-Harris administration open border policies are responsible for the death of my daughter.
That's the early days.
Wow.
So do you owe them an apology is what I'm saying.
I will tell you that I am so sorry.
Wow. Folks, this is my first time seeing this. I'm getting I got a little emotional there, my bad, guys. But that story right there is even more of a direct line. You still think it was a good idea for her to sit down? You still think that they did this because they wanted to or because they had to do it? I think she did this. Kamala's doing this interview because she's behind and she's desperate, so she's willing to risk it all. This narrative that Kamala's doing this because she just wants to talk to people. If she just wanted to talk to independent voters, she'd be answering questions.
For her loss. I'm so sorry for her loss. Sincerely. But let's talk about what is happening right now with an individual.
Moving right past it. Moved right past it. She still will not address the issue. She still want to address it?
Who does not want to participate in solutions. Let's talk about that as well.
But do you want to answer
in all fairness, I told you, I feel awful for what she and her family have experienced.
During that time, you said repeatedly that the border was secure. When in your mind did it start becoming a crisis?
I think we've had a broken immigration system transcending, by the way, Donald Trump's administration, even before. Let's all be honest about that. I have no pride in saying that this is a perfect immigration system. I've been clear, I think we all are, that it needs to be fixed. We need more. I was just down at the border talking with border agents, and they will tell you, and I'm sure you probably, I know you investigate and you are a serious journalist, they will tell you, we need more judges. We need to process those cases faster. We need the support for those cases that should be prosecuted. They need more resources, and Congress ultimately is the only place that's going to get fixed, Brett. Well, that's how this system works.
That's the premise of this question.
But
there were
that's how the
90
system
plus
works.
executive orders that were rescinded in the first days. Many of those were Trump border policies. I'm not going to stay here because there's other things to talk about, but you frequently talked to the Border Patrol Union for support of that bipartisan bill, and they did. They supported it. But they also just endorsed Donald Trump and said, you've been, quote, a failure with border security. Why do you think they said that?
I think they're frustrated.
Wow. Wow, folks. Wow. That has to sting. Her main talking point about the border has been, all of them wanted us to do it. They said it was a great deal. They all signed it. They wanted it passed. They endorsed it. Yeah, they endorsed Trump. Why did they endorse Trump since you had such great ideas? Why did they go with Trump? Let's keep going, Brett. She ain't going to own up to anything. But this is a beautiful, eloquent interview. And you know what, guys? This is how it should be. Presidents should be asked tough questions because presidents do a tough job. Okay? People should be up for scrutiny. Trump should have to answer tough questions. Kamala should have to answer tough questions. Particularly Kamala, because she's an unknown entity. She's never answered tough questions before. Trump, on the other hand, has been in the public eye as a national figure for the last 10 years at least. So it's not even anywhere comparable. Thank you, Brett, for doing that. Let's go back, guys. Before I hit the button, if you haven't hit like, I need you to hit like for us. Hit the like button if you like the content so far. Hit the like button if I'm not too annoying here. I got a little amp. I can't say I won't get amp later, but got a little enraged there. My baby's smiling down on me right now. So it's all good. It's all love. Hit the like button. Let me know that you're here, that you like the show so far. And let's keep going, people. Let's keep going.
And I get it. They want support. They want support, and that's what that border security bill would have done. These guys down at the border, these men and women, they're working hard. They're working around the clock. I get it.
There's a lot of people that look back at what you said in 2019 when you first ran for president. And there have been changes, and you've talked about some of them. When it comes to immigration, you supported allowing immigrants in the country illegally to apply for driver's license, to qualify for free tuition at universities, to be enrolled in free health care. Do you still support those things?
Listen, that was 5 years ago, and I'm very clear that I will follow the law. I have made that statement over and over again, and as Vice President of the United States, that's exactly what I've done, not to mention before.
If that's the case, you chose a running mate, Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, who signed those very things into state law. So do you support that?
We are very clear, and I am very clear, as is Tim Walz, that we must support.
Ow! Ow! I'm fine, guys. I'm fine. I'm just imitating how her pride must feel right now. I'm good to go, guys. I'm fine. I'm not suffering any physical pain, but I got to imagine inside her body right now, it feels like someone just did a soccer ball kick to the stomach. Yo, why no one has put this together? Well, these are going to be a lot tougher than the Charlemagne questions, I can tell you that. These are going to be a lot more tougher questions than the Steve Harvey, the clown car questions of Ricky Smiley, Steve Harvey, the National Association of Black Journalists, bunch of panderers. Why do I got a feeling Brett Baier is going to have harsher questions than Roland Martin? The moron, the nincompoop, the dum-dum, the hack. Yeah. And look, guys, all I want is the truth. I just want Kamala Harris to tell the truth about what we're getting. You may not like her policy, but you deserve a right. We all have a right to know what the policy is. And you know what? And I reserve the right to change minds. I reserve the right for people to change their minds. All I ask is if you change your mind, you tell us why. Particularly if you want our vote, or if you want our money, or if you want our approval, if you want us to support you. You need to explain why you changed your mind. Let me get this right. Trump is a fascist to these people, but Kamala isn't. She doesn't feel that she has an answer to us. She can go night and day on policy and doesn't feel she should have to say why. And then she chooses someone who supports the policies she used to support, but she says she no longer supports. I don't get it. I don't get it, guys. Maybe I'm being crazy. Let me know if you think I'm going cuckoo, but I don't think I have.
Support and enforce federal law, and that is exactly what we will do.
So decriminalizing border crossings, like you said in 2019.
I do not believe in decriminalizing border crossings, and I've not done that as vice president. I will not.
You could not do it as vice president. You did support. You said there is no such thing as an illegal person. And crossing a border is not a crime. That was her exact words. Those were her exact words when she raised millions of dollars running for president. Those were her exact words in 2019.
Do that as president.
So these are evolutions that you've had.
But let's be very clear. I'm the only person who's running for president who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations, from the Sinaloa cartel.
Perfect. So you were lying back then, too. Let's get this right, guys. She was lying then. When she said she supported that stuff, that was all BS. Bunch of dummies brought it. She never supported it. That's what she's saying. She's saying back then, she didn't support it either. See now, so you can't have it both ways. It's one or the other, Democrats. Was she lying then or is she lying now? Now she prefers to go what she was lying then. One of those has to be true. Was she lying then or lying now? She's saying she was lying then.
To the Guadalajara cartel, to people who have trafficked in guns, drugs, and human beings. I have spent a significant part of my career going after people who present a threat to the safety of the American people and cross our border with the intent of doing us harm and cross our border illegally. And I will do that work as vice president. I take that work quite seriously.
This is a time when voters, especially here in Pennsylvania, are inundated with commercials and ads. They just want it to stop because it's every commercial. But many of them add noise, but a few of them seem to break through. This particular one from the Trump campaign has gotten a lot of attention.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
So are you still in support of using taxpayer dollars to help prison inmates or detained illegal aliens to transition to another gender?
I will follow the law, and it's a law that Donald Trump actually followed. You're probably familiar with, now it's a public report, that under Donald Trump's administration, these surgeries were available on a medical necessity basis to people in the federal prison system. And I think, frankly, that ad from the Trump campaign is a little bit of like throwing, stones when you're living in a glass house.
The Trump aides say that he never advocated for that prison policy and no gender transition surgeries.
You know what? You got to take responsible for what happened
presidency.
in your administration.
Yeah, no surgeries.
What? Did she just say you have to take responsibility for what happened in your administration? Did she realize she's currently in an administration where she takes no responsibility whatsoever? You just said you never advocated for it. I see her sitting there advocating for it, and that was the clip.
Happened in this presidency.
It's in
so
black and white.
Would you still advocate for using taxpayer dollars for gender reassignment surgeries?
I will follow the law, just as I think Donald Trump would say he did.
You would have a say as president.
Like I said, I think he spent $20 million on those ads, trying to create a sense of fear in the voters because he...
Not a fear, repulsion. Shame. Outrage. Not fear. That's one thing you Democrats get wrong. This fear stuff. Well, the homophobic thing, the fear thing. I'm not afraid of anyone. Well, that's not a person. I'm not afraid of people. Systems give me some cause to pause in the Almighty. But no, it's that fear of you, right? It's anger about where our money's going. So let me get this right. We can't get, I don't know. We still got our school districts relying on taxpayer revenue instead of money from the state, so that we can all do well, all our kids in poor areas. But you got money for this shit? So let me get this right. I wonder how many people are committing crimes to go into jail to get the country to pay for them to get reassignment surgery. Get a Brett.
Actually has no plan in this election that is about focusing on the needs of the American people. Whereas, at $20 million on that ad, on an issue that, as it relates to the biggest issues that affect the American people, it's really quite remote. And again, his policy was no different. Look at—
And that ad's effective as hell. That's one of the better ads in this cycle. I mean, kind of gets down to the meat and potatoes of the thing, don't it? To the beans and franks of the issue.
where we are, though.
They say
on
it was
plans for
different,
the
but
American
we'll
people,
move on.
I'm offering a plan to deal with affordable housing. I'm offering a plan to deal with what we need to do to strengthen small businesses, which are the backbone of America's economy. I am offering a plan that is about taking care of young parents and giving them the support they need. My plans for the economy will strengthen the economy, as have been reviewed by 16 Nobel laureates, Goldman Sachs, Moody's, and recently the Wall Street Journal, which have all studied our plans and have indicated my plans for our economy would strengthen our economy, his would make them weaker,
Why do you
would
think more
ignite
people
inflation and invite a recession by the middle of next year. Those are the facts.
Why do you think more people say they trust him on the economy than they trust you?
I think that when you look at—
They hate women. Yeah, talk to white guys the way you talk to black guys during your campaign. The way you and Obama talk to black men. Talk to the white men that way. Go ahead. Go ahead. Be bold. Equal opportunity disrespecter here. Go ahead and be bold. Talk to white guys and disrespect their intellect. Talk to the Asian men the way that you let Obama talk to us, and then you wouldn't say Obama chill. Talk to the Native American men the way that you allow Barry Hussein Obama to talk to me and my sons and my friends, my fellow brothers. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and have some heart and talk to them that way. Say that they hate women, that they don't want to be governed by a woman. That's why they want him over you as far as the economy. Go ahead and say it, because that's what you've been saying to black people, and you don't have any problems saying that to us. See the hypocrisy, guys? This is what you deal with. Hit the like button, guys, if you like what I'm putting down. Hit the like button if I add something to the conversation besides interruptions.
an analysis of our plans for what we would do as President of the United States. It has been clear to those who study and understand how economic policy works that moving forward, because I do believe the American people are ready to turn the page on the divisiveness and the type of rhetoric that has come out of Donald Trump. People are ready to chart a new way forward, and they want a president.
People care more about their wallets than if everyone's being nice and saying nice things all of the time. Matter of fact, most people who are up against the wall could care less about Twitter. Mean words said on Twitter. They care about if they're going to have what they need to make dinner. They care if they can afford a babysitter. And Lord help them if they'll have enough money if wifey has a litter. See, that's real life stuff. You Democrats want us to focus on, I don't like what he said that time. And then he said this other thing. And people, that's not what pays the bills, baby. No one cares about. You want people to care. The people that care about that more than they care about economics are people who have their economics already taken care of. Because it ain't a person in this world or in this country who has economic problems will be more concerned with, did he use a proper pronoun? Did he use a fork or a spoon? Was that a salad fork he was using? Was his pinky out when he took a sip of the Chardonnay? Was that Merlot? I know that wasn't Merlot. I don't drink no damn Merlot. No one cares. We care about our money because we live in a capitalistic society where veterans freeze on the streets in front of boarded up buildings that have heat in them, that are empty.
Who has a plan for the future and a plan that is sound and will strengthen our country. My plan for the economy does exactly that. His plan would be, again, to give tax cuts to billionaires and the biggest corporations in our country and blow up our deficit.
It's interesting you said turn the page, Madam Vice President. You were asked on 2 different shows last week what, if anything, you would do differently than President Biden. Here's what you said.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Under a Harris administration, what would the major changes be, and what would stay the same?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm obviously not Joe Biden.
I noticed.
And so that would be one change in terms of, but also I think it's important to say with, 28 days to go, I'm not Donald Trump.
So you're not Joe Biden, you're not Donald Trump, but nothing comes to mind that you would do differently?
Let me be very clear. My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency. And like every new president that comes into office, I will bring my life experiences, my professional experiences, and fresh and new ideas. I represent a new generation of leadership. I, for example, am someone who has not spent the majority of my career in Washington, D.C. I invite ideas, whether it be from the Republicans who are supporting me, who were just on stage with me minutes ago, and the business sector, and others who can contribute to the decision.
Big Tech and Liz Cheney. Big Tech and Liz Cheney.
That I make about, for example, my plan for increasing the supply of housing in America and bringing down the cost of housing, addressing the issue of small businesses, which is about working with the private sector to bring more capital and access to capital to our small business leaders, including my plan for a $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers and for small businesses, extending the tax deduction from $5,000 to $50,000.
We've heard a lot about those plans in recent days. Your campaign slogan is a new way forward, and it's time to turn the page. You've been vice president for 3.5 years, so what are you turning the page from?
Well, first of all, turning the page from the last decade in which we've been burdened with the kind of rhetoric coming from Donald.
Oh, God. Trump has been out of office for almost 4 years. You can't make this up, fam. The ghost of Trump. Trump's in their hands, baby. She's going to sit here on this net. She knows this. This interview will go everywhere. This ends, her career is over. You understand what I'm saying? I feel like it's over. We're not even done yet, but folks, how did you bounce back from the relentless questions? Give Brett Baier a medal. Give this guy a medal, guys. Give him a medal. Give him a medal. Hit the like button for Brett Baier. He kicked ass here. He's asking all the things. He's asking all the things. All of them, folks. Beautiful, beautiful. In a just world, we could just call this right now. Match set. He's running the Boston, guys. Let's keep going, but I got to tell you, I don't see no coming back from this. She's saying, we need to turn the page. He says, from what? You're in office. The last 10 years, you've been in office for 4 of them. How do you come back from that?
Trump that has been designed and implemented to divide our country and have Americans literally point fingers at each other. Literally. Rhetoric and an approach to leadership that suggests that the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down instead of what we all know.
That's the stump speech.
Just a number. Do you think it's 1 million?
Oh, yeah, the stump speech.
My professional experiences and fresh and new ideas. I bring more capital and access to
days. Your campaign slogan is a new way forward, and it's time to turn the page. You've been vice president for 3.5 years, so what are you turning the page from?
Well, first of all, turning the page from the last decade in which we've been burdened with the kind of rhetoric coming from Donald Trump that has been designed and implemented to divide our country and have Americans literally point fingers at each other. rhetoric and an approach to leadership that suggests that the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down instead of what we all know. The strength of leadership is based on who you lift up. The strength of an American president, which is one who understands that the vast majority of us have more in common than what separates us.
Madam Vice President, more than
turning the
70% of people
That is
tell
about turning the page on rhetoric that people are frankly exhausted of, Brett.
More than
people
70% of people tell the country is on the wrong track. They say the country.
Woo! Woo! Folks, hey, look, I got to say this, Brett. Hey, man, you are batting 1,000, baby. You are killing it. Get this guy, hang his jersey in the rafters at this point. Everything I've been feeling, everything I've been saying, he's answered it and then some. He's questioned her on it, and she's done horribly on it. She's wafted every time. But look, guys, I can't stand this rhetoric about Trump is the problem. Like, Trump made us divided. Look, America's divided in a lot of ways. It happened way before Trump. They make Trump scapegoat for everything wrong in the world. You could bang your toe on your bedpost and they'd say, that damn Trump did it. In America, we were segregated for a couple hundred years. Yeah, that's a form of segregation, a form of division that persisted way before Trump. I mean, I guess she's talking about MAGA hats and Hillary Clinton's ovary hats, but those are not the separations or the division I care about. What I care about is the poor, the working class, getting the shaft. So the division I'm most concerned with is economic. Yeah, we need to change the economic division. And we need to do some long division on this damn deficit and all this money being spent and why come our racial wealth gap sucks. So as a black man, economically, that's all I'm focused on, baby. I feel like if we can fix our pockets, we fix a lot. There's a reason why most marriages end due to economic problems. There you go. And most everything ends because of economic problems. Progressives need to pull their heads out of their asses.
The country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is what they're saying, 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Madam
You
Vice
and I
President.
both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm.
Yeah, we both know you're talking babble. This is BS babble right here, folks. So what? Who cares if he's running for office? So what? What's that got to do with what you do in office? Oh, I get it. Trump stopped us from doing stuff we wanted to do. We gotta blame somebody. We're blaming Trump. I feel like I'm in that scene in the Ozarks, baby. You're gonna have to kill me to make me admit I was wrong. You're gonna have to kill me. Somebody come get Kamala. She falling and she can't get up.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is that over the last decade,
people
have become.
Whoa, Brett, I'm sorry, guys. I'm excited, man. I'm into this. Yo, Brett just hit her. Brett, I want to back up just a little bit, guys. Don't go too far.
That if you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Madam
You
Vice
and I
President.
both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is that over the last decade,
But
people
you're the
have
lever of
become.
power.
But listen, over the last decade, it is clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me, the former chief of staff to the.
Man, she's getting. Oh God, I feel like I'm watching Rocky, the first Rocky. Cut me, man, cut me, man. Man, this is. I know I'm Asian, but people are like, what is wrong? You know, Rocky. Yo, I don't think I've ever seen anybody burn like this. This, my friends. Yo, hello? Yeah, get a medic. Somebody call now. I'm calling 911. I need a medic to go to Fox Studios. I'm watching a person be beat in front of the public. Just being beat unconscious. This is disgusting what I'm watching here. I'm watching an assault and battery, a journalist on a hack politician.
President Donald Trump, former defense secretaries, national security advisor, and his vice president. One, that he is unfit to serve, that he is unstable, that he is dangerous, and that people are exhausted with someone who professes to be a leader who spends full time demeaning.
Everything's about Trump. Everything's about Trump. It's constant Trump, Trump, Trump. Do the Trump, the Trump. Everything out her mouth is Donald Trump. She's all out of talking points, guys. Now we got to go on a loop because it's out. She's done. She's clean out.
And engaging in personal grievances and it being about him instead of the American people. People are tired of that.
If that's the case, why is half the country supporting him? Why is he beating you in a lot of swing states? Why, if he's as bad as you say, that half of this country is now supporting this person who could be the 47th president of the United States? Why is that happening?
This is an election for president of the United States. It's not supposed to be easy.
I know, but
it's not supposed to be. It is not supposed to be a cakewalk for anyone.
So are they misguided, the 50%?
Listen,
are they stupid? What is it?
I would never say that about the American people. And in fact, if you listen to Donald Trump, if you watch any of his rallies, he's the one who tends to demean and belittle and diminish.
No, he's got what we call a sense of humor. You may have heard of it. Yeah. You know, sense of humor. He makes jokes, quips, you know. Says funny things, you know, sort of like, hey, Kamala, when you want to run for president? So that was supposed to be a joke. You took it seriously. And here we are today.
The American people, he's the one who talks about an enemy within, an enemy within, talking about the American people, suggesting he would turn the American military on the American people.
We asked that question to the former president today. Harris Faulkner had a town hall, and this is how he responded.
Damn, that's how well he knew she would go to talking about that. Look at her face. Uh-oh. I'm about to be exposed for being a liar and taking people out of context in front of the entire world. All of a sudden, I don't think this was a good idea. Uh-oh. Better get Mako.
I heard about that. They were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest gangster. No, it's true. No, but think of it. It's called weaponization of government. It's a terrible thing.
So,
Brett, I'm sorry, and with all due respect, that clip was not what he has been saying about the enemy within that he has repeated when he's speaking about the American people. That's not what you just showed.
Well, he was asked about that specific...
No, that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and respect to you.
Was the question.
No, he's responding to your question. That's him responding to the allegation that he's going to turn the troops on American people. He's saying, no, that's not true. That's all. He's not saying that's the speech.
That we asked him.
You didn't show that, and here's the bottom line. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that. And you and I both know that he has talked about...
I should tell people what they know. That's like the fourth time she's told Brett what he knows. No wonder her favorability ratings have gone down. I think they'll go down further after this interview. The more people get to know her, the less they like her.
turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy. And in a democracy, the President of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he...
Now we're going to act like we are so enraged. She wasn't this upset when we talked about the poor girl who was, you know? Yeah, where was this anger? Folks, come on, guys. Where was all this fire and brimstone when he was talking about the poor girl? The mother was talking about her daughter being by somebody who didn't need to be in this country. Huh? There was no passion then. I didn't see any, said it was, I feel really bad about that. Next question. There it goes. But now she's all up in arms because Trump said mean thing on rally. Now she try to gaslight us all. Try to gaslight. Come on, guys. Come on.
Lock people up for doing it. And this is what is at stake, which is why you have someone like the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff saying what Mark Milley has said about Donald Trump being a threat to the United States of America.
He's quoted in the Bob Woodward book that way, yes. Let me ask you this, Madam Vice President. You call Donald Trump...
No, we don't give a shit. You're trying to run out the clock and make it like you're trying to gaslight everybody. No one cares about what you said at the rally. We care about our money, lady. What will it take? Does a cinder block gotta fall out the sky with the word money written on it? Hit her on the foot? What's it gonna take? Does a birdie gotta fly through the studio, land on her lap and take a dump in the turds, look like dollar bills for her to get it? What's it gonna take? Does a homeless man gotta run in butt naked with a sign that says, give us money? Stand there in the middle of the stage and shake it for her to get it? What's it gonna take? No one cares about Trump's words said doing his stand-up comedy routine. I know he can be colorful. We don't care. What we care about is the policy. Can it help us? That's what we care about. That's all anybody cares about. We don't care about the rest. It's unfortunate for you because that's all you're running on. It's Trump's mean words. Let's keep going, Johnson. Hey, hit the like button, please. Everybody hit the like button. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber. It don't cost a thing if it ain't got that swing, so go ahead and do the thing. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Give your brothers some love. Let's go.
You call Donald Trump, he's misguided. You say now
he's unstable. He is unstable, Brett.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable.
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this. You told many interviewers that Joe Biden was on his game, that ran around circles on his staff. When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished?
Joe Biden, I have watched from the Oval Office to the Situation Room. And he has the judgment and the experience to do exactly what he has done in making very important decisions on behalf of the American people.
There were no concerns raised?
Brett, Joe Biden is not on the ballot.
She could talk all this smack about Trump. Biden's older, and she stood by him even though he was physically, obviously, diminished. Not a character flaw. Not a bug, a feature of getting older. You're gonna lose a step. If we're lucky enough to live long enough, we'll all experience it. At that time, maybe you shouldn't be in charge of a military with nuclear weapons. Maybe, just saying. You can still play backgammon and eat ice cream, but maybe there's some jobs you should let somebody else take care of. Not saying you're not useful, but she defended him and lied for 3.5 years. But now she's got all the smoke imaginable for Trump's age. Oh, Trump's old. He's past it. He's delusional. He's not all there. But she would never say that about Biden, even though he dropped out. He dropped out. Brett, thank you, brother. You're doing the Lord's work, sir. Thank you.
I understand.
And
but,
Donald Trump
but
is.
You talked about it.
And Donald Trump
After George Clooney said within a few minutes of talking to President Biden at a fundraiser that he thought this was not the same Joe Biden that we saw on the debate stage.
Donald Trump is on the ballot.
I understand. You met with him at least once a week for 3.5 years. You didn't have any concerns?
I think the American people have a concern about Donald Trump, which is why the people who know him best, including leaders of our national security community, have all spoken out. Even people who worked for him in the Oval Office, worked with him in the Situation Room, and have said he is unfit and dangerous and should never be president of the United States again, including his...
She just choked big time, Johnson. She just choked big time. Man, I want to thank everybody who said do this one first. Man, you are amazing, guys. You on point. Man, give it up for the Tim Black Wolf Pack. Man, you guys are great, man. I gotta give it to you. I'm so glad you decided to do the Fox News video first. Remember, after this, we're going to do Charlemagne, so don't go anywhere.
Former vice president, which is why the job was open for him to choose another running mate. So that is a fact. That is a fact.
Madam Vice President, two more things. You were asked on 60 Minutes about the biggest threat that the world faces, that the U.S. faces. This is what you said.
Which foreign country do you consider to be our greatest adversary?
I think there's an obvious one in mind, which is Iran. Iran has American blood on their hands, okay? This attack on Israel, 200 ballistic missiles. What we need to do to ensure that Iran never achieves the ability to be a nuclear power, that is one of my highest priorities.
A number of experts thought you would say China. The FBI director had said that. But you said Iran. If that's the case, what do you say to critics who look at the actions of your administration and say you're not acting like Iran is the #1 threat?
Well, I will tell you most recently, whether it was in April or in October, in the several hours on each occasion that Iran posed a threat to Israel, I was there. Most recently in the Situation Room, in the most recent attack, working with the heads of our military and doing what America must always do to defend and to support Israel in its requirement to defend itself and to give American support to be able to allow Israel to have the resources to defend itself against attack, including from Iran and Iran's terrorist proxies in the region.
Right.
And that
but those
is,
proxies were getting funded by
my commitment
Iran.
To that is unyielding and unwavering.
Critics just say that you either relaxed or failed to enforce sanctions on Iran, allowing all of this money to flow into Iran, like billions.
Let's go back to Donald Trump, who pulled out of a deal that would have actually put Iran in check.
The estimates
and then
in billions.
It was during Donald Trump's
that
administration
go towards
that
the Iran regime.
That we had an American military base that was attacked, where American soldiers suffered traumatic brain injuries, and Donald Trump dismissed them as headaches, not to mention how Donald Trump has treated and talked about America's military and military service people, calling them suckers and losers,
Hamas,
has diminished the significance.
We're talking over each other. I apologize.
Well, I would like that we would have a conversation that is grounded in full assessment of the facts, which includes, I think this interview is supposed to be about the choices that your viewers should be presented.
It should be about you. It's about asking you questions. It's not a conversation about Trump. It's about you, lady. What an entitled prima donna. You are running to be president. Press conferences and interviews, people are trying to assess that. You're just giving us a bunch of word salad. You want us to hear about Donald Trump. I hear about Trump when it's time to talk to Trump, and not from you. What I want to hear from you is what's up with Iran. Liar. With all due respect.
About this election, and the contrast is important.
Yes, ma'am.
And on the subject of Iran, I am offering what should be an important contrast that is presented for folks to make a decision
and there are critics
that they feel.
who look at what the administration did and say and think differently. Madam Vice President, they're wrapping me very hard here. I hope you got to say what you wanted to say about Donald Trump. There are a lot of things
There's more to say. I have much more to say,
there are a lot of things that people want to learn about you and your policies, and that's why
I invite everyone to go to kamalaharris.com, and you will see that I have 80 pages of policies that are quite comprehensive and should be accessible to anyone who would like to read them. And it includes what I intend to do about affordable housing, what I intend to do about small businesses, what I do
and that's why we invited you here
our economy,
to see where you were in 2019 and where you are now.
America's military and ensure we have the most lethal and best fighting force in the world.
Madam Vice President,
and
they're giving me a hard rap
here.
Well,
I thank you for the time.
I thank you for the time.
It's good to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Woo! Woo! Folks, I gotta tell you, that was probably the most excruciating interview I've ever witnessed a politician undergo. I don't think I could think of, I'm almost stumped. I can't think of a particular interview that was worse, that could have been more damaging for Kamala Harris at this point. Folks, put it in the comment section. Give me a like, guys, give me a like. Give me a 0 if that's what you thought she scored on this thing. I think she scored a 0. If you think she did well, give me a 1. 0 means she got a 0. 1 means she did all right. I think it was horrific. Wow. Guys, this show is brought to you by the Tim Black Show, not by the Democrats or the Republicans. We just try to call it straight here. This is my No Joe button. If you become a member of the Tim Black Show, a member, a paying member, and you send me, you DM me, and you show me you're a paying member, I'll send you a No Joe button. I've got still maybe 50. I know I got at least 50 here. Maybe 100, maybe. I think we got some upstairs somewhere. I'll check with Mrs. Black, my wifey, and see if we got some more. I'll send you a free No Joe button. No Joe, why it's still relevant? It won't be relevant soon, but it's a good collector's item and it's free. And I'll pay the stamp. I'll pay the stamp just like I did in 2020, in 2019 when I sent those out. I'll pay the postage. So just become a member and I'll send it to you. And yeah. Hit the like button, guys. Sign up, become a subscriber. Hit the subscribe button, guys. Wow. This was the clinic. I have nothing else to say. Brett posed all the questions. No one can say she wasn't given an opportunity to stand up for herself. Brett was respectful, but he was tactful. And he wasn't trying to be her friend. He wasn't trying to kiss her ass. He wasn't trying to dance around it. He was trying to ask the questions. He gave her room to do the explanation. And she would not answer questions. Very few times did she answer anything. She just came with her talking points and that was it. And most of her talking points consisted of Trump bad, Trump evil, Trump did it. I ain't do nothing. Trump did it. I ain't do nothing. Trump did it. That was the whole interview. I'd like to know why she thinks people should give her a vote when she ain't did nothing. That sounded horrible. Why should anybody vote for you if you haven't did anything the last 3 years, 3.5 years? You're not responsible for anything. You didn't do anything, and there's nothing you would do different than what Biden did. But somehow you say it will be a different policy, a different presidency. It won't be a continuation, but you won't tell us how it's different. You won't tell us what you would do differently. It's crazy. Once again, man, big shout out to Brett Baier, man. He took his time. He asked questions we wanted answers to. He didn't let her go down memory lane and talk about the apartment she was living in and when she was a kid and middle class. Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Brett, for not allowing her to stay in her comfortable little spot and keep it on that generic BS.